Yeah, a little bit late this morning, am I? I'm about a minute over. How you doing? Good morning. Welcome to the newspaper review live stream, 17th of October 2019. It's very bright, isn't it? You got my big baldy head there, a grey sweatshirt, a kind of a grey background. It's not marvellous, is it? It's not the BBC, is it? But this is what we are. We'll have to put up with it. In the coming weeks and months, this entire room is going to be changed and converted into a kind of a TV studio as well as a radio studio. Yeah, I've got big plans for this crappy live stream, so I do. Big plans, I tell you. Yeah, there'll be more to see in the future when you watch this than just my anemic head, my big anemic head on me. You well? It's nice out there. Beautiful, in fact. Lovely clear skies this morning. Well, it was dark when I was out, but it was clear. You could see it was clear. I could see the moon and one or two stars this morning. So I could, yeah, good. We'll have a look at the papers, and, well, the big story today is this Brexit deal being negotiated between the European Union and the United Kingdom. It's at a bit of an impasse because of the Democratic Unionist Party. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. It doesn't really matter, but anyway, I'll tell you more about that in a minute. Hi to John Sheridan. Thanks, John. I just saw that there. Thanks for your super chat contribution, John. Means a lot, mate. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. I had a laugh this morning. You know the way when you use a tablet or even a laptop or even a phone for looking around the internet, and you find yourself regularly getting ads. You get Google ads all the time. And you are often curious about the ads because you think, I don't remember searching for that online. I wonder, is Google listening to me through my microphone? We talk about this sometimes on the radio show. These targeted ads. Well, I don't know if there's a glitch in the matrix or if there's a problem with Google's targeted advertising system. Because I got some ads this morning when I was on my phone, and these are genuine ads, and I couldn't screen grab. I've never used my phone to screen grab. And you don't screen grab on the phone the same way you screen grab on your tablet, so I couldn't do it. And by the time I figured it out, the ads were gone. Because you would have laughed now, belly laughs. These are 3 ads that I got this morning as I was using my phone outside, as I was trying to listen to the radio. Genuine ads. The first ad was for sexy Asian women in Eccles. In Eccles! Are there any Asian women in Eccles? Sexy ones? Sexy Asian women in Eccles. I had no use for that ad because I'm not in the market for any sexy women, Asian or otherwise. The second ad, this is genuine. Any man can go 2.5 hours in bed with this exercise. Any man can go 2.5 hours to be precise. 2.5 hours in bed with this exercise. I'm a stallion. I go longer than 2.5 hours. So I had no use for that. And the third ad was burn belly fat in hours. Burn belly fat in hours. I don't have any belly fat. I'm an absolute Adonis. So I don't know where those ads are coming from. Not exactly targeted at me. But those are genuine ads, honestly. As I was browsing this morning on my phone. Anyway, the things that make me giggle. Sexy Asian women in Eccles. Oh, be Jesus. Right. Oh, yeah. Got me bins on. I got me bins on. Before I look at the papers, do you want the Brexit bollocks? Do you? Do you want the Brexit bollocks? Do you? Have I got it here for you? I'll tell you what the BBC. I'll tell you what the BBC is saying. Why not, sure? The BBC. A couple of interesting BBC stories in the news today, in fact. We'll talk about the BBC later on. Apparently, the text of a deal is ready. The European Union is ready to agree a deal. And I won't get into great detail as to why they are. But just to give you the headline. The European Union is ready to agree the deal that Boris Johnson and his government want to offer it, because it's basically worse than the Theresa May deal. Johnson is making all manner of concessions to the European Union. You know, basically offering the European Union a Brexit in name only deal that would see the United Kingdom subject to forevermore to European Union regulation on all manner of things. right? Anyway, but the Democratic Unionist Party, which was propping up, not anymore propping up the government, because with so many Conservative Party MPs defecting and either becoming independents or going to join the Liberal Democrats, he doesn't have a majority anyway. But the DUP had previously given a confidence and supply agreement and support to the government, and that was crucial. Not anymore. But the DUP are saying, this morning anyway, that they can't possibly support the deal that Boris Johnson is close to agreeing with the European Union. Because Stormont, the Northern Ireland Parliament, would be given ongoing consent to any special arrangements for Northern Ireland. The DUP doesn't like that. They're demanding a veto, okay, on this arrangement going forward. But they won't get the veto they want, the DUP. The arrangements would be approved every few years by a straight majority, and they don't like it. It basically means Northern Ireland would be treated differently to the rest of the UK. Northern Ireland would also be in closer alignment with EU regulations on, again, all manner of things, something that they had said they would never accept. In fact, something Boris Johnson had specifically said time and again that he wouldn't accept either. But yet, it appears this is basically the basis of the deal that they are ready to agree. European Research Group, which is a Conservative Party group of MPs which are hardline Brexiteers, they have been comparing the DUP to the canary in the coal mine this morning. So the hardline Brexiteers, of which Jacob Rees-Mogg is supposed to be one, okay, they're saying, well, if the DUP are very worried about it, maybe we should all be very worried about it. And look, what we're looking at here is Johnson not being able to get this through Parliament on Saturday, even if the European Union 27 members agree the deal at the summit in Brussels today and tomorrow. It's unlikely to get through the House in any case, and an extension beyond October 31st is inevitable. I've been saying for a long time it was never going to happen. So should I just leave it there? Is it confusing? Is it? Maybe the detail is confusing. Maybe it's meant to be confusing. I don't know. I understand it. Johnson wants to concede to the European Union that Northern Ireland stays closer in alignment to EU regulations than the rest of the UK to avoid a so-called hard border in Ireland. And nobody wants that. That's basically it. But the EU are prepared to accept it, of course, right? If it comes down to it, the EU are prepared to accept it. They would prefer that it all goes tits up and a long extension is granted. And I think that's where we're going, one way or the other. Right. Okay. Shall we leave that alone for the time being, shall we? And move on into the newspapers. Let me just adjust this here a little bit. Yeah, let's get into the papers. So obviously the television and radio shows are full of this morning. Knife edge, 11th hour, 2 minutes to midnight. I've used those terms myself. You're getting nothing else now, only this is crunch time. And Kay Burley broadcasting from downtown Brussels this morning on the streets. It's all bizarre and mad and silly, and it's not going to happen. The Express, against all odds, Boris closes in on Brexit deal. Again, these papers went to bed at 10 o'clock last night or even earlier. So they're out of date now, these newspapers. That's the Express. The Times, Brexit deal on knife edges, DUP blocks Johnson. The Times could see it coming last night. Also an interesting story on the front page of the Times about the BBC, about the licence fee. British people, if you've got a television, are expected to pay something like £150 a year for a television licence so that you can have the BBC. Money is given to the BBC for the BBC's programming, its budget and all the rest of it. Nicky Morgan, the Culture Secretary, has been talking about that. We might get into that later on. Also on the front page of the Times, we will get into it. MP quits and says Corbyn is a danger to Britain. This is the Liverpool MP, Louise Ellman, who is a Jewish woman who overnight has walked out of the Labour Party, blaming anti-Semitism. All right. That's the Times. The Telegraph then. Brexit is like the Shawshank Redemption, but now we can see the light. Johnson writing in the Telegraph today, invoking Stephen King's short story made into a film, of course, with Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman, of course. How could I forget? Johnson invoking that analogy. We'll crawl through a tunnel of shit into the light. But it's a pack of lies, because if Johnson has his way, he will agree a deal with the European Union that would keep the UK in Europe in all but name. But with no say, no seat at the table, as it were. Worse than Theresa May's deal. This is the truth, right? Okay? This guy was never, ever intent on leaving the European Union, Boris Johnson. Ever. I think somebody broadly resembling me has been saying that since forever. The Mail. Inside of the summit. But the DUP could still scupper it. That's where it is right now. Remember, you might be watching this later on in the day. Things might have changed. It's 9:42 in the morning, UK time, as I'm talking about this now. The Metro, summit's got to give. Yep. It's all the same. Guardian, Johnson in last minute scramble for DUP backing. Guardian. The Mirror, Brexit on a knife edge. The negotiators for the European Union say we're nearly there. Juncker and Tusk and all the bigwigs, they're all making noises this morning that they're ready to agree something. The DUP is the stumbling block at the moment. But don't forget, even if they sign off on a deal, that is, if the negotiating teams agree a deal, it's still got to get by the rest of the European Union countries, either today or tomorrow, and then it's got to get by Westminster on Saturday at a special sitting on Saturday. Also on the front page of the Mirror, some newspapers carrying the story today that the actress Leah Bracknell died yesterday. She was in Emmerdale, died of lung cancer, and as far as I understand, never smoked. You hear a lot of that these days, don't you? People getting lung cancer who never smoked a cigarette in their lives. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life, never tried it, never would, can't stand it. You wonder about these stories about people getting cancer like that, but anyway. The iPaper, deadlock on Brexit deal ahead of summit. iPaper, The Star. Are we going for a clean sweep? We are. No clean sweep. Ant and Dog. Apparently those two dickheads, Ant and Dick, or whatever they're called, are supporting a guide dog charity. Good for them. And The Star goes with the death of Leah Bracknell as well. Financial Times, will be Brexit. Well, they've got an interesting photograph there of Johnson behind bars. And financial stories there about the collapse of Woodford, and also stories about Hong Kong in and on the front page of the Financial Times. What does the Sun go with? Ego warriors. This is to do with the letter sent to every newspaper by 100 celebrities admitting their hypocrisy in backing Extinction Rebellion. People like Benedict Cumberbatch, people like Steve Coogan there. And I must be a misogynist because I don't know who those two women are. But there you are. But anyway, they agreed that they're all hypocrites in backing Extinction Rebellion because their lifestyles are far from carbon neutral or carbon conscious even. That's in the Sun today. Whoopie-doo. Those are the papers anyway. We'll have a little bit of video to bring you in a minute. Good morning, by the way. How you doing? To everybody who's watching or listening to this, watching it on the live stream. The usual suspects are all in there. I'm not going to keep saying hello to you every morning. John Nolan says, when will the future Mrs. Allen be Mrs. Allen? No idea, John. We got engaged 11 years ago. Christmas Eve, 2008, in Spain. It was very romantic, so it was. In Spain on Christmas Eve. Hi to Gina Mills. How you doing, Gina? Hi to Maxine Orr. The world's even gone bonkers, says Maxine. Indeed. It was ever bonkers. Hi to Joe Public. David Bramble. David is talking about a protest on the underground this morning. I'll show you that in a minute. In fact, I'll show it to you now. Everybody's talking about this as well. Guy jumped on a tube this morning in London, try and stop the train moving on. Bleary-eyed, pissed off, sad, depressed, oppressed workers, slaves, who are absolutely on the edge anyway in terms of their sanity. Well, they went batshit crazy and dragged him off the top of the train. Get the fuck off that train, you crazy bastard, they said in unison. And we've got a video for you, courtesy, I think, of The Telegraph. And this time I'm going to make sure I've got the sound turned up so you can hear it. Here you go. Is there any sound? There's no sound. This video doesn't come with any sound, actually. It does. Turned very violent. Apparently the guy was booted and punched when he was dragged off the train. That's not good. Removing him from the train and handing him to the transport police would be the right thing to do. Kicking him and punching him. No. Extinction Rebellion. What's this kicking people all about? Yeah, so no, I don't agree with David. I don't understand or agree with people kicking people in the face. No, I don't. Get him off the train, hand him to London Transport Police. Good morning to Chris, good morning to Paul, good morning to Venus Rising, to Lux Mea, lovely, to Dilip, to Paul White, to Maureen, cooking chicken pasta for my child, says Maureen McAleer. How you doing, Maureen? Hi to Kim Marie Herborg in Denmark. How you doing, Kim? And to everybody else. Hi to Charlotte. How you doing, Charlotte? Hi to Ben Dover. Thanks again, John. Jason Nocton. Mike Rowcock. In Down, in County Down. How you doing? It's in County Down. How you doing, my friend? Charlotte wants to know, does Lucy Liu have a holiday home in Eccles? Sexy girls in Eccles. Sexy Asians in Eccles. I was given an ad this morning. I was presented with an ad for Sexy Asians in Eccles. Good morning, Jean-Ann. Crowley, where she's been watching this as well. This Arlene says no surrender. Of course, we're all wildly surprised. She means Arlene Foster of the Democratic Unionist Party. They've said that at the moment they cannot support that deal or the deal. They've seen it, of course. Of course, they've seen it. The one that the EU and the UK government are very close to agreeing, which of course wouldn't be Brexit, by the way, by any stretch of the imagination. Hi to Mr. Roper. How you doing, Mr. Roper? And I'm just going to move on now, okay, because I'll be here all day with the old mentions. There are many of them. Thank you. Yaw. One or two of you saying the guy wasn't very well dressed for train climbing. No, I suppose he wasn't. Slip-on shoes. Don't wear slip-on shoes if you're going climbing or running along a flat, hard surface. Shiny surface, not good. Slip-on shoes. Right, what else have we got for you this morning then? Well, this is very interesting. Or is it? This is Louise Ellman. She's left the Labour Party, saying that Jeremy Corbyn is a danger to Britain. She also says that Jeremy Corbyn represents a danger to the Jewish community. These are interesting terms. Jewish community. There isn't a Jewish community. No more than there's an Irish community. No more than there's a Muslim community. There are Jews living in England. In some parts of the UK, you might get a gathering of Jews. In North Manchester, we have neighbourhoods where there are quite a lot of Jews living in the same area. But we don't have a Jewish community. And no one group of people speaks for Jews in the UK. That's a fact. Jews don't think as one and are not represented by any organisation. She goes on to talk about Jewish racism. This is an oxymoron. There's no such thing. Because as we all know now, and I don't say this to cause hurt, offence, to wind people up, or to make life difficult for myself. I say it because it's true. Jews are not an ethnic race of people. They're not. They're just white people mostly who are afflicted by the same madness as so many other people on planet Earth, in that they believe in a vengeful God. Now, to my friends who do believe in God, don't melt down. I'm open to the idea that a benevolent supreme being, not a benevolent supreme being, but some supreme intelligence might have given rise or life to us. I'm open-minded to that. What I think is patently fucking stupid, and I make no apology for it, I believe are the beliefs of Christians, Jews and Muslims. Their belief in a God who sent prophets giving us a list of rules and regulations that we must live by. And should we not live by them, we are condemned to eternal darkness and not eternal happiness in his bosom. I think it's all fucking crazy. All of it. But it's very important. I think that. Doesn't mean I'm right, but it's what I believe. Thanks to Graham Booth from Trigger Warning, by the way. Get a haircut, you hippie, says Graham. I had an old head shave this morning. I mean, when you're criticising the Jews, you should look like Romper Stomper, shouldn't you? When you're going to criticise the Jews, and of course I've never criticised the Jews, ever. When you criticise a Jew, you should look like Romper Stomper or Edward Norton. I do see the irony. So look, let me get into it very briefly. I don't want to dwell too much on this. Anti-Jewish racism is an oxymoron. Jews are not a race. And most Jews agree with this. Most Jews will tell you, yeah, you're right. Because genuine racists on the far right in America traditionally wanted to categorise Jews as a race because it was easier for them to explain their theories that the Jewish race were a cabal that were collectively working malevolently to control the world and to dominate civilization, dominate humanity. So Jews, to their credit, for many years said, listen, we are a race thing is bullshit. We're not a race, of course we're not. We're an identity group. We're a religious group of people. We believe in the doctrine. This is what makes us Jewish. And the old KKK and other white supremacists, they characterised the Jews as an ethnic race because it suited their narrative, effectively. Anyway, she's saying that there's anti-Semitism and I've got to leave because I can't campaign in the next election to place Jeremy Corbyn on the seat of Prime Minister in Downing Street, knowing that he's a danger to the Jews and that he's a danger to the country. This is bullshit, of course. Now, this woman, of course, is the vice chair of the Labour Friends of Israel and Jewish Voice for Labour as well. I think she's the chair of that. She's a Zionist. She's a disgusting human being, an unapologetic campaigner for the most racist apartheid state the world has ever known, Israel, illegitimate Israel, of course. That's what this is really all about. There are a million things to beat Jeremy Corbyn up over. Oh, you can hammer him. He's absolutely useless, inveterate, completely crap, a hypocrite, a flip-flopper, everything. You could nail him. I nail him weekly on my radio programme. But he's not fostering anti-Jewish hatred. Let's not say racism because, again, for the reasons I just gave. He hasn't done that. He doesn't like Israel. I don't like Israel. I don't know what he thinks about Israel's legitimacy. I don't really care. I know that Israel is illegitimate. I know that the treaties which gave rise to Israel are illegitimate. The Sykes-Picot Agreement, the Balfour Declaration, illegitimate. The indigenous people of Palestine are raped, are murdered, are tortured, are incarcerated on a daily basis by Nazis who declare themselves to be the legitimate occupiers of that region, even though there is no historic basis for it. Israel doesn't belong there. There was no diaspora. It's all a lie. And that's what this is really all about. It's to prevent people talking about this, questioning the diaspora, questioning the Holocaust industry, which is not questioning the Holocaust, it's questioning the spin-off industries from the internment and murder of Jews in the Second World War. It's to prevent people talking about the mass murder of the Palestinians in incursions, let's call them incursions, wholesale slaughter by the Israeli Defence Forces, like Operation Protective Edge in 2014. It's to prevent people talking about this stuff and discussing, as I said, Jewish identity and history and the illegitimacy of Israel, which bulldozes homes, murders people, imprisons children, killed 3,000 people in 2014, including 500 children, and does it and gets away with it, enabled by our governments. This is what it's really all about. Jeremy Corbyn, as a backbench MP many moons ago, used to talk about some of this stuff. Since becoming the heir to Ed Miliband and becoming the leader of the opposition, he hasn't breathed a word about it. There is no anti-Semitism in the UK. Again, anti-Semitism is a misnomer anyway. Jews are not Semites. Jews are just Jews. Most Jews, I believe, are not really Jews. Most Jews don't believe in God, therefore they're not Jews. It's like the comedian David Baddiel, another moron, calls himself a Jewish atheist. Talk about oxymoronic language. You can't be a Jewish atheist, no more than I can be a Christian atheist, right? So this woman is vile, horrible woman, awful. They've been trying to get rid of her Labour members in Liverpool for ages. She's dreadful. And she's not leaving because of anti-Semitism. There is no anti-Semitism anywhere. There isn't any. Are there people in this country who believe that the Jews are evil? Yeah, but there are not many of them. They're morons. They hang around on internet groups and they don't do anybody any harm. Will a gravestone get vandalised every now and then? Will somebody put a swastika on it? Yes, because there are dickheads everywhere. You go outside today, you'll find a dickhead. Just look around. I've got a dickhead inbuilt tracking system. It's like this, you go out. Dickhead, you see one. There's always somebody, right? But it's not prevalent in society. It's not widespread. It's not. This is far, far deeper than hostility towards Jews in the Labour Party or anywhere else. Jews are doing great. It's a great time to be Jewish. Brilliant. Overrepresented in every area of society. I've talked about this time and again on the radio show. So I would suggest shut up and get on with it. You're doing really well as an identity group. You know, keep your heads down and enjoy your success before people start asking questions. Why are the Jews doing so well? Right? Tongue is firmly in cheek there, by the way. Louise Ellman. Are you not sick of it, like? You know? The brutal things that go on in Israel, in Palestine, I should say, on a daily basis. That's what this is really all about. It's got nothing to do with any genuine fear that Jewish folks have in England today, because it's nonsense. All the polling shows that there basically is not any antipathy towards Jews. All of it. But you've got these groups like the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, these lunatic Zionists constantly crying about the Jews, we're under attack. No, you're not. You're not.